Today on Mixergy, you are going to learn from the successes and failures of literally hundreds and hundreds of internet startups. Here's how we're going to do it. I read this article in the New York Times right here about a man named Professor David Kirsch of the University of Maryland, and what David Kirsch is doing is he's creating the .com archive. He is studying hundreds of internet companies that grew up in the bubble days back in the late 90s, and what happened to them after the bubble burst. He studied all of them, and we are going to take the lessons that he learned and apply them to your business. And I've got 5 pieces of videotape here that I want you to see that are excerpted. Is that the word that I'm looking for? Yes, they are pulled out of a much longer program that I hope you download, but I want you to at least get these 5 pieces of information. The first lesson that you need to learn from his research is about how to get funding, the cold, hard truth of how to get funding. Here it is directly from Professor Kirsch.
The essential finding of our work thus far is that social networks are critical to acquisition of funding. You know, why do they have those drop boxes? Because I think they're trying to screen out the people who don't know how the system works. Mm-hmm. If you send your business plan, submit it over the transom, you're de facto saying, I don't understand how this system works, and don't fund me.
Next thing I want you to hear is about starting big versus starting small. A lot of you guys email me about a great business idea that you're planning to put out there into the world, and you need to build this and that and that. Guys, watch what the research says.
You know, Webvan takes $1 billion and places it on red, right? Small trucks, large distribution centers, a certain type of geography, a certain set of assumptions about how people are going to behave. And then they go out and just kind of try and cookie cutter that thing in Baltimore and Bay Area, wherever. When you have this high uncertainty, what you need to do is experiment. And rather than invest $1 billion on red, there should have been 10 $100 million bets on orange, blue, green, what have you, on all the different colors.
All right, and there it is. So you may not be playing with $1 billion of investors' money, and you may not be laying out smaller bets that are $100 million bets, the way that Professor Kirsch said Webvan should have done. But still, can you think of your business and think of ways that you could maybe try smaller experiments instead of launching all of it all at once? Webvan is just one example of many that Professor Kirsch and I talked about and that he has in his archives. So think about it. Can you boil your idea down to one smaller piece that you could then run with and then experiment and experiment and experiment further? Okay, next thing that I want you to see is, let's see what else is. Yes. Getting out. We talk about the perfect time to get into a business. We talk about the way you should be growing your business. We talk about all of that, and it's true that knowing when to get into a business, knowing what kind of business to start will determine your success, obviously. But there's one other thing that you need to know, and that is when to get out. And here's a great example of why we need to know that. There it is from Professor
Eric Greenberg, the founder of Scient, cashed out over $250 million personally. All of my friends who worked at Scient rode it all the way down to the bottom, because they couldn't believe it wasn't worth a little bit more than it was today. Boom, 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 boom. So I think Scient, in one sense, is a colossal failure, and they took hundreds of millions of dollars of investors' money and returned almost nothing. But it was also had enterprise value of $5 billion at one point.
All right, if you're sitting at a job somewhere watching this on your lunch break and you're sure that at some point you want to start a company but you're not ready yet to take the risk, I want you to watch this videotape, and then I'm going to come back and put it in perspective for you.
In a venture-backed firm, even, a lot of times the fund will come back and give the guy another chance, because they say, look, we saw you did what we asked you to do. You tried. You worked with us. You shared your decision process. We agreed that this was what we're going to do. It didn't work out. Okay, it's $20 million of other people's money. Now let's go get it back.
There it is. This world will give you so many chances, as many as your heart and your passion will allow. This world will give you that many chances. So you've got to go out there and try it. Venture VCs, if you take their money and you fail, will still come back and give you money. That's what you're hearing, not from me, but directly from Professor Kirsch and from the research. Lots of people in this world will give you another shot. The only thing is, you have got to be willing to go and take that shot, to not have your spirit broken, not have your passions taken away from you. You have to be willing to go for it. But it's great that we're living in this kind of environment that will allow you to fail, to even bankrupt. In fact, we've talked on Mixergy to several entrepreneurs who've had failures in their lives, who've gone bankrupt and closed up their companies, and then they came back and they triumphed and they did one of these hero tales on Mixergy that so many of you have downloaded and loved. Finally, I want you to see this last piece of video, and this is why I love that we get to have longer conversations. I'm only giving you small summaries in these videos. They always come from much longer presentations. And one of the reasons that I want you one of the reasons that I do that is because we pull out some interesting truths that that are unexpected, including this one. I'm going to show it to you, and then I'm going to come back and explain to you why I think it's important for you to see this video. All right, so here it is.
And I had students come to me and say, well, I'm going to start a retro t-shirt business. And I was like, that's such a silly idea. And then like 6 months later, I discovered this Threadless. And, what they did was, well, it's a little different. And, every week it's some new designs and it's, kind of mass specialization. I mean, I don't know if that's a big business or not, but when I go and look at those t-shirts, I'm sort of like, yeah, that's kind of cool. If I wanted to buy a t-shirt, I'd probably find something I'd like to buy here.
All right, and the reason that I wanted you to see that videotape is to just emphasize for you that nobody knows. You're going to take your idea out, you're going to take your business plan out, you're going to talk about it to as many people as you can, because you're going to think that as soon as they find out about it, they're going to be electrified and they're going to want it so badly that they'll either want to invest in you or go start competing businesses. And what you're going to hear very often is people tell you that your idea will not work. Investors, friends, entrepreneurs, and so on, and you're going to start to think maybe they know something. Nobody knows. Here's a guy, Professor Kirsch, who studied as many internet companies as just about anyone has, and even he didn't think that a retro t-shirt company would work and didn't believe it until he saw Threadless. Now, to his credit, he's not pretending that he knows everything that there is to know about startups, but anyone who pretends that they do, you should not listen to. In fact, people will tell you if you push them that they could be right or wrong. So never, 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 never allow yourself to believe that if that person says no and if that person says that the idea won't work, that you should give up on it. You should take their ideas into account, you should take their feedback into account, but you can never pretend for yourself or allow anyone else to pretend to you that they know everything. All right, there it is. 5 points. I've just gone through them with you. 5 points from a program that lasted a lot longer than this. I hope you got a lot of value out of this, but really between you and me, if you're a dilettante who only listens to a few minutes of information, you're never going to make it as an entrepreneur. You have to dig deeper, 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 and that's why I have a long program for you that I recorded with Professor Kirsch, him at his office, and of course me here in my office, and it's recorded for you so that you can learn about entrepreneurship and how to build a successful startup and learn from people who came before you, from their successes and from their failures. Download it. Till next time, I'm Andrew Warner, and I'm the founder of mixergy.com. Let's go get 'em.